I'd like to spend a few minutes and talk about perspectives as an element of the Kumu overview series. The way that you develop the map, the connections that you make between entities, and the relationships that they represent, is where all of the meaning is in the relationship map that you develop. Yet the way that your map is actually perceived by others has a lot to do with the way that it looks. And Kumu has a very extensive array of capabilities for altering the way that the map looks on multiple levels. And the way they do that is with something called a perspective. A perspective is actually a set of CSS code that defines the way that each individual element, connection, and loop on the map is actually presented. Though, while it's an extremely deep set of capabilities, which would be overwhelming if you attempted to digest them all at once. It'd be like trying to eat an elephant in one bite. You can get into it from a layered perspective, so that the perspective with the entities and attribute project that I created for the previous video, the perspective for that, if you look at it, there is no perspective. It's completely blank. Though if I go here to settings, I can change the size of the elements. I can change the width of the connections. I can change the connection length. I can change the font size. Change the color layout so that the element color is something different and the connection color is also something different. And I can even change the font color. Now, if I save this to the current perspective, if we now go look, Kumu has written all of this code for you that explains to itself how to present the elements on this, or the entities on this map. Now, don't get overwhelmed about all of this CSS code, because initially you use these types of cribs or wizards to go ahead and do things for you, so that you don't actually have to get down into the nitty-gritty of worrying about what the actual CSS code. So there are some other ones here in terms of gravity and charge and connection and length that has to do with the way that the elements connect or attract each other. And then there are some down here in terms of you can change the template to any one of the templates we talked about when you actually create a new map. You can go from a theme from light to dark. You can change the quality from high quality to low quality, so that for a relationship map with a large number of entities, it provides a faster display. You can change the text position of the elements, and you can change the curvature of the curves themselves. So that's the top level of control, and probably the majority of what you want to do to decorate your map, you can do simply from the settings panel here on the right. Though at times you actually want more control over the way that your map is decorated, and you can go first, if you're on the map, you can select perspectives and go to decorations, and then there are options for decorating elements, so that you can decorate all of the elements or some cross-section of them, so that you could do selections based upon types or tags or other attributes, and then you can go ahead and change the size, the color. You can add an image, you can add bullseyes, shadows, and a legend so that it shows up down here. So let's go ahead and change the size to 17, and then we'll go ahead and say just call it elements. When I save it, notice that elements shows up down here and shows the color. Now notice that this color is different from this color. The reason for that is that the set of code that just got written is down here. And all we did was change the element size. All of the other attributes are still in effect. But this particular component doesn't specify what the color is, but we'll get into that later. So you can decorate the elements from here. You can decorate the connections from here so that you can alter them in a manner that you choose. And once you begin to get familiar with doing decorations, the time will come, believe it or not, when you will actually begin to copy and paste CSS code or perspectives from one map to another as opposed to recreating them. And the way that you can do that is if you find some project or map created by somebody else that you like the way that it's decorated, you can simply do an Alt-S, and it will Kumu will show you the whole set of CSS code that was used to decorate this map, and you can copy it and paste it into another map. Though you'll come to understand that some things are dependent upon attributes, and other things are just straightforward. But those will come in time after we talk about various and sundry different aspects. This one's interesting because you'll notice that the individuals on this map are different sizes. And if you look at the individual, you'll see that there are some other attributes defined for them, and one of them is net worth. And if we go and look at the perspective, and we look at the this display, the element type for person is actually scaled based upon the net worth, so that the size of the element is dependent upon the net worth attribute that was added to the profile page for that element. But the whole set of CSS code for this is really not very long, but it's doing things based upon element types for person and company and connector types. So it's looking at specific things because some of the connectors are gray and some of them are green, and some of the elements, if you look at this, it says that the element type is person, but the element type here is company. And then you can change the decorations based upon different attributes. So this is another one that you can look at that's rather interesting in terms of the Austin social innovation and the CSS code for that. The perspective is actually extremely short. And then the Hawaii quality of life. But this begins to give you a sense of the extent to which you have control over the way that the map begins to look when you decide to alter the settings that control the decoration of the map. This is actually, as I said, an element of the Kumu overview. It's the perspectives element. There'll be a link to this in the video, and I've included links to all of the maps that were in the video. So hope you found this informative, and I'll see you in another video soon. Bye.